Hello, hello. This is Linda West with Living Live with Linda, and I'm here today. I'm going to talk to William Kelley. We're going to talk about one of my absolute favorite topics, fear, and I'm going to share with you why that's one of my favorite topics as we get into it. We're going to give you a couple tips and tricks that you can use to hopefully help you break through some of those fears that you have. But before we get started, I want to thank the Prepared Performer. Oh, it's not showing up on my screen. There it is, thepreparedperformer.com. They are the sponsor for today's show. The Prepared Performer supports businesses and experts to gain more credibility, visibility, and to be known as the authority in your space so that you can attract a flood of leads who are ready to throw their credit cards at your face. So if you are ready to have people throw credit cards at your face, go to thepreparedperformer.com and check out Molly Mahoney. She's absolutely amazing, and she is one of my mentors. And then I want to share with you guys next that I'm going to be speaking at an event. I'm so excited. I'm actually getting my speech together. It's kind of like a keynote speech, where you get up there and you rah, 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 shish kumbah, and I'm excited. And it's called Massive Success Breakthrough. And that's February 7 through 9 February 9 through 11 in San Diego. If you're interested in tickets, go to attendmsb.com. And I really look forward to having you there and supporting me. I don't usually ask people to support me with very much that I do because I figure I need to be my own support, but this is one of those things that I'm really asking for you guys, come and join me and be part of my support team, because this is the first time ever I'm going to be speaking on a big stage with some really big names. And I am super duper pooper excited to do that. So let's talk about fear today. Hello, Judy. How are you doing today? I hope you're having a wonderful day. If you can, in the comments, just let us know what you're up to. And we're going to talk about fear today. So if you have anything that you want us to address, go ahead and let us know what some of your fears are. We all have fears. You are not alone. We all have fears. Trust me. I have plenty of them myself that I'm still working through. But I'm here today with my guest, William Kelley. And we are excited to talk about fear because, just like me, William has had his fair share of fears too. And so William grew up in a part of town where he felt ridiculed and he didn't feel as welcome as some people might feel. I guess I don't know how else to put it, but to put it that way. And so a lot of times what happens when we're young, when we don't feel welcome, our self-esteem gets, kind of hit. And that's something that happened to William. But as he grew up, he realized that he didn't have to, keep that self-esteem low. So he got into coaching. And so William, why don't you share with us a little bit about your journey, like how you got into coaching? Like what made you think, I want to be a coach?
Well, so I didn't really realize I wanted to be a coach until I met this guy. I was cleaning his house. And he was a master neuro-linguistic practitioner, right? He was a trainer. And so he was showing me just a couple quick techniques. He saw that I was a little bit shy and stuff. And so he's like, hey, maybe I can help you with that. So we did some really cool work with reprogramming my mindset and my response to anxiety and fear. And I said, wow, this is really cool. I want to learn more about this. So I took all of his certification courses. Throughout maybe, the last 20 years, I've taken various neurolinguistic programming courses and certifications, hypnosis training and whatnot. Done a lot of coaching with, coaches that I've actually hired and learned a lot from them. And I've done a lot of coaching myself with other people as well. Paid clients, people I mentor, friends and family and stuff like that. And it was a couple of years ago, I just decided, wait a minute, I'm really good at this and I love it so much. I could just quit my job and open up my own practice. Yay! And become a coach. Right. So, and that's what I did. And it's just been an incredible journey so far. It's just really interesting also to watch myself go through the whole journey from being that shy kid that you talked about, who was an outcast and was dirty at school and had no friends, and to growing up to learn how to have really meaningful relationships and overcome social anxiety, overcome that low self-esteem and lack of self-confidence. And then, as you know, we've been to we went to Greg's house and hung out together, and that was my next level up for me. So it's really fun now to use all the techniques and tools that I have in my experience to work on it at this new higher level and see where I'm going from there. So that's kind of my story in a short.
Yeah, that's so awesome, because what you mentioned there is, because I too grew up in an environment that was not, I want to say, ideal for positive growth and mental mental growth. And I was actually talking to a friend today about that. And she and I were in school together. She's 1 year younger than I am. We were both in band together. And she was terrified of me because I was like this big person, you know, but inside, I was telling her, I was like, inside, I wasn't anything. Like I was very, I had very, very low self-esteem. I was very what's the word? Like very self-conscious about what I looked like and how I presented myself. And I was really scared to talk to people. And I had all these fears, but her perception of me was so different, which I think is so interesting, because if we can learn, here's a saying I love that I'm not sure if I made it up or not, but I'm going to say I did. And that is, you know, to see yourself through the eyes of others, because others see the true you. And that right there has been one of my turning points, because it's helped me to step back and say, okay, I am this. Okay, I am that. And it's really helped me. But now on your journey, so, you know, like you said, you were dirty. And so like people made fun of you, you know, kids make fun of you. Kids are so mean anyway, right? Like they totally screw us up. So what age were you at when you found NLP, or was it neuro linguistic programming, NLP? When was it?
Yeah, it was like 21 years ago. I was like, I don't know how old I was. I was like, give my age away here. I was like probably late 20s. I would say late 20s.
Okay. That's cool. Yeah. And so when you discovered that, at what point did it like open up your mind? And I'm going to show you Solo there and answer that phone. I'm going to put that phone on. At what point did that open your mind?
Oh, it was pretty immediate. It was pretty immediate. You know, within I don't know if you people know much about neuro-linguistic programming, but they give you some tools where you can reprogram the way thoughts run through your head. You know, the thoughts that you're creating in your head create the emotions that are in your body, right? And those emotions in your body lead to behaviors unwanted or desired. So when I just discovered that, wow, you mean by just reorganizing a few of the thoughts that are running through my head, the pictures and images and the way that I run and the way that they look, I can actually change my emotional response and experience in the world. That was when it was immediate, just clicked like that.
So when you discovered that, I'm going to assume you started working on yourself, right? For how you could change your own thought processes.
Yeah, we worked with ourselves, but mostly with other people in study groups, because that's how you learn this stuff. You know, you sit down and you ask a person, hey, what are you afraid of right now? What's your fear? Or what are you struggling with? And they can always tell you, okay, it's this or that, whatever. I'm struggling with anxiety. And you can say, okay, well, when you think about that anxiety, do you have a picture in your head? And everybody goes, oh, yeah. Oh, I didn't know that. There it is. There's that picture. And then so we just worked with manipulating the way that image shows up in your brain, and it changes the emotional experience and the response. So, you know, hours and days and weeks and years of just classroom training with that, your brain starts to pick it up after a while and says, okay, I see what you're doing. Your unconscious mind starts to go, I see what you're doing. When undesired emotions come into your body, you look for the thought, and then you take that thought and you get rid of it, or you change it. And so it just becomes an automatic internal response to, you know, stress, life, whatever. So you can actually end up reprogramming that chain of events in your head.
So at what point in that do you say, I want to help other people with this and start coaching on something like that? Because you go through your own process, right? At what point do you say, like, this is what I want to do? Like, what was that like epiphany moment for you?
I don't even know if it was one. I think it was just like connected with it so deeply, you know, sitting in front of another human being and looking into their eyes and watching their physiological response and helping them through something small, a little issue or problem that they've been struggling with for their entire lives, and watching it go away. It was just so rewarding and so satisfying. Just compounding over time, I just realized there's nothing else in the world I want to do.
Yeah. Isn't that awesome? Because like you said, some small problem, but they've been carrying it around their whole lives. So it's like this suitcase you're carrying around with you everywhere with like whatever problems you have. And you were like the key to open up that suitcase for them.
Yeah.
You know?
That's cool. Like I can feel it right now as you're describing that. I'm like, yeah, that's what it's all about. That's why I do this.
Yeah, it's so awesome. I'm actually putting together right now a program called 7 Keys to Freedom. And that's like one of the analogies is, the suitcase of all the fears that we have inside of there. And you just want to open it up just a little bit at the beginning, then eventually you're like, just open it up and just let it all go. Yeah. Oh my gosh.
I like to think about it as fear as, that little suitcase that we're opening up. Like, yes, we carry that around and we start letting those things out. Well, they're always there where they're not really in a suitcase. Because if it were, we could just toss that suitcase in the closet, right? But those animals get out of the freaking suitcase and they follow us around, right? And they show up in our lives all the time. And one thing I really like to share with people is that the fear, let's call it fear or anxiety, whatever it is. It's like an old dog, and we've learned to just be afraid of this old dog. It's this emotion, right, that we come up with, and these thoughts in our head, and we go, oh no, there's that thing, and there's anxiety, but there's fear, and so we've almost learned to be afraid of fear, right? That creates that loop that goes around. We're thinking fear, now we're feeling fear, so we're thinking it, and there it is. Oh my God! And so we shift our behaviors, and we start responding differently in the world. We don't get what we want. But I like to think about those things as like this old, like fear is this old, nasty, rabid dog, and he follows you around and he'll show up in your life and you're like, there he is. We just have to get used to seeing him and not responding to it. We don't have to run from the nasty old dog of fear. We don't have to resist it. You don't have to worry about it. It's just like, there it is. And the funny thing that happens when you start looking at it from that perspective, we're not afraid of fear anymore. The feelings of and the emotion of fear, the thoughts of fear, we're not really afraid of it. We can just accept that there it is, no big deal. It's harmless. It's not going to hurt me.
Yeah, and it's so true, right? Because like in 2015, I did a year of no fear, where every single morning I woke up, I said, "What scares me? I'm going to do it," and I did it. So I did it for 365 days, and what I found at the end of that 365 days is not that I became exactly numb to fear, but this is the only way I can really kind of explain it, is that I recognize fear so quickly now, and I recognize that what the feelings are, and that I can help them subside by just doing the act, whatever it is that I was scared of, because most of the time, the fear that I had is not even real when I get onto the other side, that it's like, that's not what happened. Like what I imagined in my head was going to happen didn't happen.
Yeah. See, it's really cool what you just said, because what you taught your brain to do is you've taught your brain to not be afraid of fear and not respond to it. And that it won't, your brain, your unconscious mind basically learned, just because I have fear, I don't have to respond to it because it's not going to hurt me. And you had successive events, successful experiences of facing your fear and living through it. After a while, you just become conditioned to not pay attention to the fear anymore.
Right. And it's not that I don't have fear. It's that I have fear, but I recognize it. And I realize that I'm not going to die from it, from whatever it is I'm going to do. So go ahead and do it and just get it over with. Because otherwise the fear lingers and lingers and lingers and can linger for years if we let it. And that's just debilitating, really stops you from progress. Fear stops people from progressing in life, in business, and whatever it is that they've got going on. It's right.
One thing I learned, I want to share this too. I love this. I got this from Mel Robbins. I don't know if you've heard of her. But she has a little technique that you do. So it's once you've actually decided that you want to do something, but fear is stopping you, it's because you get caught up in your head and self-doubt and you know all the chatter that goes on. And then you're feeling fear and you don't do it. She has this technique. She basically goes, you count down 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, launch. And then you just do the activity. And the counting of that takes your brain out of the thinking about how you're feeling about it. And it takes you out of the process. Because it's the processes required to count down from 5 to 1 are completely different than the processes of feeling fear and thinking about it. And then you hit that 1 and you just go do it. You take action and you launch.
And just do it. Yeah. Hi, Marissa. I hope you're doing good. Hopefully I'll see you tonight. That's a great one. I like that 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Because I had that year of no fear, I don't need to do any techniques like that anymore. And I forgot different techniques to use. Like, what did I used to do? What I would do instead is I would positive talk myself. So if I had, for example, one of my fears is meeting new people. Even though I was meeting you at an environment that was an environment that I'm used to, I was still meeting new people. And so every time I go to a networking event, I go grocery shopping, I go, to the gas station, I have this fear that comes up every single time I'm meeting new people. And so what I realized that, that morning I woke up and said, okay, today I'm going to go to a networking event and I'm going to meet somebody new. That was my fear of the day. And so I would, like 5 minutes before I got to my location, I would just psych myself up. And I was like, I'm powerful, I'm amazing, I'm strong, I'm smart, I'm brilliant. Like I would say all these extremely positive affirmations to myself, say, I'm confident, I love people, I walk up to new people and invite them to join me. And so I would tell myself all these things so that I could walk in there as if I were confident and that I loved meeting new people. And so it was as if, right? So I psyched myself up to do something as if, and then when the act came, I actually did it. And it was just a really great way for me to work through that fear. The 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, like I would have had my whole entire drive to think about it, So, but walking into the room, right?
Yeah.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Yes, exactly. That's like in the moment, the instant you need to act, do it. Yes. And I like what you're also saying. You were on that drive, those positive reaffirmations were basically future pacing yourself for success. You're basically accessing resourceful, positive states within yourself that are genuine, that you've felt before. You're not actually trying to convince yourself that you are all those things. You're accessing in your brain times when you really felt that way. So when you showed up, your body was already primed and ready to go. The images that you were creating, you were already watching yourself, if I'm guessing right, probably watching yourself succeed successfully with however that networking event would go, or meeting that new person.
Well, interesting you say that, because when I went through my year of no fear, I was very low on self-confidence. I had just started my journey to discovering who I am. So I really didn't truly believe those things yet, but I had heard them from other people. And so that's why my saying of, see yourself through the eyes of others, because those were some of the words that they would tell me. And so I would keep telling myself what they had told me to reaffirm what they saw in me, so that I would now see in me what they saw in me. It's like this whole round robin, right? It's just kind of crazy. But so I like, there's a whole bunch of different techniques. And so like the 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 is a good one. Mine is I just give myself these positive affirmations over and over and over again to boost my confidence level, so that when I approach the situation, I'm mentally in that state that's a positive state. Now, here's the thing, William, is some people can't do it on their own, right? Not yet. Like it takes a lot of practice. So I had an instance where a woman, she was going to apply for a job, and I had been kind of coaching her through this. And she was going to go to her interview, and she's like, I'm going to my interview. It's today in like an hour and a half. I said, hey, I'll meet you in the lobby 5 minutes before you go up, and I'm going to talk to you, and I'm going to pump you up for that interview. So I went there and I met with her. I talked to her, told her how amazing she is, how brilliant she is, and told her to stand firm on the amount of money she wanted to make and all this stuff. And she got hired, and she got a $20,000 raise that day. And I was like, whoa. And that she's like, I walked in there like I owned it, and I was like, wow, that's so powerful how we can help people with that kind of stuff, right?
Yeah. Oh, I love it, because what you're saying is, we can access these emotions and these states. It's like getting into state before time. And there's also, we don't have time today to talk about them, but there are some really cool ways to link those states to the, the fear state or whatever, to the more resourceful state, so they automatically trigger, so you'd actually never go into fear and anxiety. When the trigger for the old fear and anxiety comes up, it automatically runs the more resourceful state for you. So you don't need to get into state every time. It happens for you. Yeah.
Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah.
I love that. That sounds interesting. I have to examine that a little bit, because I'm really quick to recognize my fears now. And you saw when we went to the iFly thing, like I was scared, but I did it anyway. And my fear was because somebody else had told me I could hardly breathe when I was in there. I wasn't sure if I was going to be able to breathe. And so she inserted a fear that I hadn't had, which was interesting. And so then what I had to remind myself is that's one person. But I hear from all these other people how amazing it is, how fun it is, and all this stuff. So why am I concentrating on the one person who told me they couldn't breathe instead of all the other people who tell me how amazing it is? And that's really what made my switch that day. It took a while for me to remember that. But once I remembered that, I was like, I'm going to have fun. This is going to be a blast. And I went in there and it was a blast. You know, it was so crazy fun.
Blast, no fun intended, huh? Blast of air, you know? So it's, what you're really talking about is on a meta level is us taking charge of our bodies and our brains and learning to do so, taking charge. You talked a lot today about the active process that you go through to say, what am I doing? And then how do I want it to be instead, and change it. So you're actually taking charge of your brain, and your brain is learning to make habits of those behaviors of yours, right? The new ways of thinking, and you're getting really good at it, right? And so that's a very important distinction to know for everybody listening and watching, to know that this is what it comes down to, is us taking charge and saying, I don't want to feel and live like this anymore. Mm-hmm. I can change it. And I may not know how to change it, but I'm going to start today by watching what I'm doing in my head, and noticing how I'm feeling in the world, and trying and practicing and experimenting with different things to change that. No matter what technique or practice or process you want to use, it comes down to owning the fact that you are responsible for how you think and feel. It's really powerful.
That was huge for me. And because once I started, like when I start to get nervous or anxious or scared of something, I immediately feel it in my gut. Well, I didn't recognize that until just a couple years ago, right? And so that's when I had to say, this is, okay, when I have this feeling, it's because I'm scared of something. What am I scared of? So then I had to say, something's getting to me, but what is it? I had to figure out what that was that I was scared of. And then I had to talk myself through it. Like, how can I make sure that I can blast through that, whatever that is. And it's crazy because we do have control over that. We can let our mind control us, or we can take control over our mind. It's up to us, but we just have to know the technique of how to do that. And I'm a person who, I'm the type of person who really like looks deep into me and who I am and all that stuff. So I can kind of figure it out that way. But also there's, so many other ways to discover that. Like, that's like seeking help, like from like coaches. I know a woman is a hypnotherapist, hypnotherapist. And I had her on a couple of weeks ago. So she helps people get into their mind and to discover these things. So what would you say though, like NLP, does that combat fear? Does that help people combat fear as well?
Yes, it helps you combat anything, really. It helps you change anything. It looks at how we process thoughts in our head, which lead to the emotions that we have in our body, which in turn lead to unwanted or wanted behaviors. And those behaviors in the dynamic world we live in help produce our results. But it really starts with taking a look at how you process your thinking in your head. How are you doing this? How are you creating a scenario in your head with the images that you're creating that's causing you to feel anxiety and fear? Let me give you a quick example. Most people know exactly what they don't want, right? It's like, why aren't you taking the risk to become the entrepreneur that you want to become? Well, it's because I don't want to fail. What happens if I fail? And so blah, blah, blah. They may tell you, this is the business I want to start. But what they don't want, which is a clearer picture in their head, they're creating this picture literally of what they don't want, which is them failing. They're seeing a movie in their head or a picture of themselves failing, right? That's what I don't want. And attached to that picture, whenever they pull that picture up in your head, which is what we all do, we pull up pictures and then we respond to those pictures the way they look. And then that person sees themselves failing and they're like, oh God, that feels bad. Oh, I don't want that. And then I'm going to do anything I can to avoid that. And if that means even not taking action on starting my business, that's what I'm going to do, because I don't want that thing. So here's what we want to do instead. This comes right out of NLP. Instead of thinking about what you don't want, think about what you do want. Want. So that picture from now on will become a picture of you actually taking the actions that lead to your success. Granted, it's your imagination. We don't know if you will succeed or not, right? But now you have this picture that you're responding to viscerally because you see yourself succeeding. How do you imagine that emotional response is going to be to a picture that you see yourself succeeding? You're going to feel pretty good about that if you can create that picture in your head. So whenever you catch yourself saying, I don't want this, I don't want that, I want to avoid this, replace that with different language. What do you want instead? Without any negatives? What do you want? And then how do you see yourself succeeding? And that actually can also reduce a lot of fear, anxiety, because we confuse images like that and those negative images of failure with fear. Well, it's not actually really fear. It's just that's what we don't want. And so to avoid that, we don't take action towards there, which is it's sort of a flavor, a variety of fear.
Yeah, that's so interesting. I've just recently discovered that desire trumps fear every time. Because when you have a strong desire for something, you're not as worried, or you're not even thinking about how you might not work. And I'm just going to tell you a really quick story. I met Frank Shankwitz he's the founder of the Make-A-Wish Foundation. And I met him at Secret Knock, and what happened was he spoke on stage, and when he was done, he went and sat down at his table, and I ran over to him to get a picture. And then I went back to my table, and that was it. I got a picture. Yeah, I got a picture with Frank Shankwitz, Then I ran back to my table, and I sat down there, and that was the second day of the event. Well, the third day of the event, when I was driving there, I was like, I'm going to have him be the keynote speaker of my nonprofit. I was going to put on a nonprofit expo. I'm going to have him be the keynote speaker. I'm just going to walk right up to him. And as I was driving, so I was doing the envisioning, right? I was driving there. I was like, I'm going to walk right up to him. I'm going to say, hey, Frank, you're going to be the keynote speaker at my nonprofit expo. And he's going to say yes. And I just the whole drive, 30-minute drive. That's all I said the entire time, repeating. So I got to the event, and I couldn't find Frank anywhere. And I was like, oh man, maybe he didn't come the third day, So then we got the speakers got up on stage, different speakers. And during the break, I was like, I am on this mission to find Frank because I had the desire. My desire was so strong to have him be the keynote speaker at my event. So I'm looking all over the room, where's Frank? Where's Frank? And I couldn't see him anywhere. I started getting frustrated, but then I saw him the back of the room, and he has his cowboy hat. He's really tall. He's almost 6'6". And I saw him. I beelined it right over there, blinders on. I totally had blinders on because I was on a mission. Blinders on. I see Frank. There he is. I walk right up to him, and he's in what I like to call the circle of death, because he was 4 men, all over 6 feet tall, standing shoulder to shoulder. Literally, they were really tight with each other. Yeah. And so I walked up there, and I just stood right next to Frank, and I just stared. I'm 5'4", so he's a foot taller. So I'm just staring up at him, and I just stood there staring. It's kind of rude, but I was on a mission. Yeah. So I'm staring at him like that. And then about maybe, 30 seconds to a minute later, he noticed me out of the corner of his peripheral vision. And he looked down and he goes, oh, hi, little lady. How can I help you? Like that. Well, oh, hi, little lady. How can I help you? And so I said, Frank, and he's in the circle of death. Okay. I am not in the circle. I'm outside of it. And I go, Frank, you're going to be a keynote speaker at my nonprofit expo. I can't wait to have you there. That's exactly what I said.
Yeah.
And he's like, yeah, he goes, excuse me, gentlemen, I'm going to go have a chat with this young lady, So we walked outside and we talked for 20 minutes. We talked about Make-A-Wish and his founding of it. We talked about my event, what I was looking for. And we struck up this deal that he was going to come speak at my event. He was going to be the keynote speaker. My point is that my desire trumped my fear. I had no fear because my desire was so strong. Now, a year before that, I would have had the desire, but would have been too scared to do it because I hadn't gone through my year of no fear, is really what had me say, you got this desire, just go for it. Keep going for it. It's so crazy how
your desire. It's because your desire was actually what you wanted. Remember we talked about that. It's actually what you wanted. And then you saw it, you heard it in yourself, you rehearsed it so many times, you just reverse engineered it because now when you show up, you knew exactly what to say, you knew exactly how you were going to respond, and you got to that point emotionally so you could actually do that by creating the vision in your head and the audio dialogue that went with it. Right. And that was that image, the content of that image was what you wanted, not what you don't wanted. The year before, you were doing something different. You were creating different images, different pictures. You were probably How am I going to get rejected? What if this happens? Totally different content on the. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, completely. Exactly. And that's what I did, like not knowing what I did, because I didn't know, like, I don't know anything about NLP myself, but not knowing what I did, that's exactly what happened. And that's why we create vision boards, right? We create a vision board. And the vision board is like, what do you desire? It's not, what do you think you can attain? It's, what do you desire? What is your vision? What is your dream? Like, whatever you dream, you can achieve it, because your brain will try to find the ways to achieve that for you. But if you keep shutting yourself down and saying, oh, I can't have that, I can't afford that, like the I can't afford something is one of the worst things we can do to ourselves, because when you say I can't afford something, what you're saying is that I don't deserve that. Mm-hmm. You know, because you can afford things. You'll find a way. If there's something you truly, truly desire and you know it's something you should have in your life, then find the way to make it happen. You know, that's one thing it's been a huge, huge deal for me. Oh, you guys, if you're finding this valuable, please share it. I forgot to throw that up there. Yeah, please share it, because hopefully there's some good tips in here for you. William, why don't you share with us, like, if you have maybe like your top 3 tips for people who are experiencing a fearful state? Like maybe they're going for a job interview. Maybe they're on the fence. They're at it, like me, when I was at a job and I made that decision to jump, which was 3 years ago, I think today, November 30th, 2014. Yeah. So 3 years ago, like they're on the fence. Like, I'm not sure if I can do it or not. I'm a little scared what's going to happen. What are some, maybe 3 tips that you can give them that can help them, blast through that fear? We got the 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 countdown thing, but some things might take some planning. What's your thought on that?
The most important thing you can do, I cannot stress this enough, is know exactly what you want, not what you don't want. Clarity. And most people struggle with clarity, but that's because all you have to do is sit down and think, ask yourself, what do I want? Not what you don't want. It's just so important. What do you want instead of what you don't want? And create an image of that. Use your imagination to create an image of what you want, or a movie, whatever you want. See yourself succeeding. That thing alone is going to be the most powerful thing you can do, because that'll transform every aspect of your life. If you just retrain your brain to do that all the time, that'll get rid of a lot of fear. And it's actually a way of living. Oh,
I want to talk. Yeah. Can I talk about that just a little bit? Because it took me a couple of years to get clarity, you guys. I mean, you might, some people say, you got to have clarity, which is awesome. But what this truly, truly means is really diving deep inside of your soul, like to discover really what it really is. So you can say, I want a fancy car, I want a big house, but that's not really the clarity of what you want for your life. Like, what are you here for? What's your purpose? What is your why? So getting clarity on your why can help drive you to your purpose-driven purpose.
Yes. Oh, yeah. And I really appreciate the fact that you went on this journey and you did this for a year. It doesn't have to take that long. Oftentimes, because I know what the heck I'm doing, and I've done it for so long, I can get a client to clarity in 1 or 2 sessions.
Awesome.
Deep, meaningful clarity, right? It takes a lot of work. So appreciate that. Yeah. Another technique would be, this is more of an in the moment thing. This is less of a lifestyle new way of thinking about fear, a submodality shift. Because most people right now can probably think of something that they're afraid of. And I'm not talking about a phobia or something like that, but a person who intimidates them, or a situation that they don't want to be in, or a certain activity they want to engage in, but they just don't do it because the fear and just like all this stuff, and then they're they emotionally respond, and they avoid it and they don't do it. One quick way to get over that is go, okay, what is the feeling that you're having, right? Call it anxiety. And what image are you creating in your head when you have that anxiety? This is a really powerful one. Take that image, because it's usually big and bright and in color. It's right in front of your face. It's close. That whatever you're looking at there is causing that emotion. So what are you feeling? Do you have a picture associated with it? Yes. Take that picture, shrink it down. It's very small, make it black and white, make it slightly blurry, and then push it out into the distance, way out in the distance. Keep looking at it though, right? that is the new representation that has, so you're breaking the emotional connection between the picture you were having before about the behavior, the thing you were avoiding doing, or you wanted to do whatever. You're breaking the emotional connection to that by changing how the picture looks. Take it, shrink it down, put it off into the future, make it black and white. And that'll instantly sever the connection between that trigger, which is the picture, and the emotion.
Did you say modality shift? What did you say?
Yeah, it's called a submodality shift.
Modality. Okay, I just want to make sure I put the right word up there because I put it up on the screen for people to see. Yeah. And okay, so before we go to number 3, we've got Patty here. Hello, Patty. So Patty says, yeah, you know exactly what you want. And what is the feeling? What image am I creating, looking at? Shrink it and push it out. So yeah, that's awesome. Do you guys have any fears that you're currently experiencing that maybe William can touch on really quick? I mean, I don't know how it will work. I just like to throw stuff out there and see if it
works. It works like this. It works real quick. Yeah. So throw them at me.
Yeah. So if you have any fears that you want William to like touch on really quick, go ahead and post it below. I'd love to see what he comes up with. And also, if you could, in the comments, you guys below, I'd love for you to share with us, like, what is your mission? What is your mission here on earth? You know, your why. Do you have clarity on that? Share it with us. I'd love to hear what it is for you guys. Okay. So number 3, William, what is number 3? I put him on the spot, by the way. We weren't ready for this. And so
those are, I think I'm going to repeat the first one because it's so worth repeating, because I don't have a third trick, because the first one is not really a trick, but it's worth repeating. I'll use that as my third one. It's just always be clear about what you want, not what you don't want. And learn to train your brain to look at yourself, seeing yourself succeed instead of seeing yourself fail. Being very clear on that.
So let's say, for example, somebody comes to you and they say, well, I don't want to fail. And I'll use an example. I put on this event called Lemon Zest and Garlic Fest. And I was very adamant about this event that I knew I was going to be a success. I knew it. And I knew it, and I never lost faith in it. I always had faith. And actually, I've actually changed the acronym of FEAR from false evidence appearing real. I've changed it to faith erases anxious reactions, because I found that my faith in myself actually erased any anxiety that I would have had. Because like I know what I used to be like, right? And like now I don't have those anxious reactions. But so let's say it came into it, and I had this event in mind, and I'm planning it, and then I started to get like a little bit of butterflies, and the butterflies are doubt, right? So like the doubt that this is going to happen, and then all of a sudden I start to doubt it, and I start to slow down the progress. I don't start lining things up, and then you ask me like, well, what's going on here? And I say, I don't want to fail. I don't want to fail because I'll fail me and I'll fail others. Like I'll fail the customers, I'll fail my team, I'll fail me.
I'm going to interrupt you right there.
Yeah.
This is part of the process.
Okay.
The reason I interrupted you is because that's what exactly you need to do to yourself in that moment. Just interrupt that and go, I'm doing self-doubt again. Then go back to what you know you should be doing, which is seeing yourself succeed. Okay? Because the brain will run off that until you make a habit of seeing yourself succeed. Things will trigger in your mind, and you will go into self-doubt from time to time in certain contexts, in certain areas, but you got to catch yourself. No, there it is again. I'm doing self-doubt, interrupt it, see yourself succeed. And if you have to do that 10, 20, 30 times in a 5-minute period, do it. Your brain, eventually your unconscious mind will go, okay, I see. And it'll reprogram that for you. So that trigger next time will automatically lead to you seeing yourself succeed if you've repeated it enough times. And it works really, really quick. You can reprogram your thinking like that in a matter of days.
That's awesome. Yeah. I love that. Yeah, it's interesting for me because when I went into, when I quit my job and I went into what I was doing, which was all kinds of stuff. That being beside the point, because I didn't really know what direction to go. I just knew I didn't want to be doing what I was doing anymore, But once, like I said, that event, when it came to my mind, there was never, ever a doubt in my mind that was going to be successful. And I'm not sure when that shift happened in my brain, but there was something that it was really desire. Like I wanted that event to be so successful that I kept telling myself and everybody that is going to be successful. Now, here's what happened. The reality is that it was a financial bloodbath. I lost tens of thousands of dollars of our money, my husband's and my money. That's the reality. Was it a failure? No, it was a success because I learned so much in a 4-month period. So I could look at it as a failure or I could look at it as a success, right? It's my option. And I choose to look at the success that I had. We had 700 people in attendance for a first time event. I mean, that's a success.
Yeah, and it's a good point. Good point, because we're not saying because you imagine yourself succeeding that you're going to succeed. We're not saying that at all, right? Which is what you discovered. What we're saying is that imagine yourself succeeding so that it affects your behavior in the best possible way to give you the highest degree of likelihood that you will succeed.
Exactly. That was interesting. Yeah, because even like if I had had doubts along the way when we lost that money, I would have seen it as a failure probably. But because I had all this
probably
positive,
wouldn't have even started. You wouldn't have started. You would have, or you would have started and you would have failed harder. Who knows? There's a million different things. But you used seeing yourself succeed as a way to get your butt in gear towards what you wanted. And the last point I want to make on that is that you can do all the right things and still fail, because we live in such a dynamic world where these forces we cannot control. We're asking other people essentially to give us their money, and we say, this is the value I want to provide, but I need you to give me your money. They ultimately can say yes or no to that, right? So you just do the best you can. You improve the likelihood of yourself succeeding by continuing to imagining yourself succeed, so you could take the right action.
That's true. And what's the saying by Einstein? Einstein, Thomas Edison? I didn't fail 10,000 times. I found 10,000 ways that it didn't work.
Yeah.
It's just a different mindset.
You successfully produced the results that you got.
And if you think about it, if he hadn't had that conviction that he knew what to, like, if he didn't have that conviction in himself that he knew that he was going to solve this problem, and he had given up because he was fearful, that we wouldn't have, what most of the things we have today, because that was
if he saw himself failing in his head over and over and over, we wouldn't. But he saw himself succeeding over and over and over, and that's what he was in control of. He was in control of what he thinks in his head, just like you and me and everybody else listening. We're in control. We just have to learn to take that control back.
Yeah. And so decide what it is that you want, just make that decision, right? Make sure you know what it is that you want. Like you said, no, but what is it that you do want? And go after it and just make it happen, because you have the ability, but you have to do it. You have to take the steps. If you don't know what to do, that's okay, because there's so many other people that can help you. You just have to find those people who can guide you, coaches, anybody who has gone there before you. And here's one thing that Greg Reed says, he says, the most successful people are the most available people. And that was a really, really important concept for me to get. Is that the reason the most successful people is because most people are fearful to reach out to them. So if you're not fearful to reach out to them, and you can get their counsel through the situation. And it's absolutely one of the most beautiful phrases helped me tremendously. I would not have run up to Frank Shankwitz if I had not heard that saying several times. I just know it. I know it. It's crazy. But to clarity, get clarity. And then modality, what was it? Modality what?
Well, it's a submodality shift. Just change the way the picture looks in your head. Make it black and white. Shrink it down. So now
I don't see pictures. I don't actually see pictures. Do you actually see real pictures yourself?
You see pictures, I guarantee you. You have a prefrontal visual cortex, which creates pictures. It's maybe you're just not aware of seeing them and looking at them. But if you really slow down and take a moment and think about a person that you really admire and you close your eyes, you're going to see a picture of that person in your head.
Do you actually see it as an actual, like, you face and everything yourself?
Most people do. I don't think I've ever met anybody who cannot see pictures in their head. Even blind people see pictures. Yeah, your visual cortex will create some representation of what it looks like. It's not going to look like a picture computer screen, but there's going to be some representation in your head of what that looks like.
Okay, I'm going to try that. I won't try it right now because that'd be kind of like boring if I just sat here and visualized.
Yeah.
But you know what's weird though? It's weird that you say that because see, I don't really usually see pictures, but I see words. So, and I see music, which is kind of, my brain. I'm always like music. Music's always in my head. But last night I laid down, I was, trying to go to sleep. And how sometimes I'll see like a white light when I've got my eyes closed. But this time I actually saw, I was like, oh my gosh, I'm seeing something. And it was a person pulling like a horse. So it was a horse-drawn carriage. And then they were going through a field. And I was like, what the heck? I was wide awake. So what the heck is this that I'm seeing? I have no idea. Right. There they are. There's some chickens and roosters over there. Like, this is the stuff I was seeing. And it was really, I had never experienced it before. So it's interesting you said that. So I'm going to tap into that and see what that's all about.
Yeah. And for someone like yourself, if you're used to seeing words or hearing words, hearing yourself talk, then manipulate those. Manipulate the words that you're saying or the words you're seeing, right? If that works easier for you.
Okay.
Visual images, typically it's easier it has more of an impact to manipulate the visual images if you can get in touch with them. But if you're seeing and hearing words, please manipulate those by all means. Quick example, if you have this voice in your head that's talking shit to you, telling you how you can't do something, instead of it being in your voice or your mother's voice or your father's voice, whatever, or that second grade teacher's voice that said you're never going to amount to nothing, whatever it is, just change that voice into Mickey Mouse's voice saying the same thing. And it really breaks the emotional connection between what that person's saying in your head or what you're saying in your head to the way you feel. It severs the connection.
Wow. Yeah. That's so awesome.
And it does it fairly permanently too. If once or twice of you doing that, your brain will do it automatically the next time. And it just poof, the emotion is gone.
Okay, that's good because the emotion is what we attach to it, right? The emotion of the experience that we had previously that we keep carrying with us year after year after year after decade.
Yes, ma'am.
Oh my God. But it is cool that, that's the thing is we do have the ability to change that because, some people have, grown up in really, really, really bad situations, growing up in the ghetto and then are extremely successful today. And it's not because they had any different circumstances. They were able to rewire their brain the way they think. And so, I love to use I think it's P. Diddy, he did not grow up in the best environment, but that guy's an amazing, brilliant businessman, So maybe he didn't have the resources when he was younger, but he found the resources later and he decided that what I want, this is what I want, not this is what I don't want. And so he decided this is what I want and he went for it. And so it just goes to show that it's not your environment if you grow up in. You can blame that all you want, but the reality is that you can also change it if you want. It's up to you, 100% up to you. And if you don't know how, and if you don't know how, find somebody who can help you figure it out. Because just because William's telling you do this, do that, doesn't mean you're going to be able to implement it. Some of you will, and some of you won't, and that's just the way it is. So if you don't know how to implement it and you want to implement it, I would highly recommend reaching out to William. And I have his website right there on the screen. And so William, this is so awesome. I love talking about fear. It's one of my favorite subjects. When I went through that year of no fear, I learned a lot about fear and about how to combat it. And that's how I came up with the faith erases anxious reactions, because I realized I was just having anxious reactions. And when I had faith in what I was doing, I was able to just push through it. It's just really helped me so much. And that year of no fear really helped me a lot. And but if you guys have any questions, you want to reach out to William, it's William Kelley with an E, Kelley, coaching.com. Check it out. His story is up there and it's just a beautiful story. And thank you for sharing that with us and for doing what you do. I mean, this, coaching.
You can also find me. Friend me on William in Seattle at Facebook, and that's another way to get a hold of me. And you know what? I just want to also say thank you for what you do, because I look at you and I as messengers. You know, we're basically repeating the same underlying fundamental principle message, which is you can take control of your life, your brain, and the results you get. You're in charge. We're speaking this message of personal empowerment. It's why I love people like you and the friends that we have around us, and everybody who's listening and watching too. We're just messengers repeating that message.
And you know what's interesting is that for me to be here doing what I'm doing now, this is something, again, probably like a year and a half ago that I would never have imagined. I used to say, oh, I would love to do this. I would love to do that. But I never took any action to do it. And that's because I was fearful of judgment, fearful like what people would think of me. My first husband was very abusive, and I learned how stupid I was and how ignorant I was. Like, that's what I learned, right? So when I, became older, and like I said, just about a year and a half ago, I started saying, I really like interviewing people, but I would never do it. And then finally I said, you know what? I'm just going to do it. I'm not scared of what people think about me anymore, because I have so much confidence in who I am and what I'm putting out there that it doesn't matter what other people think. And I have so many amazing people I want to share with the world. And in order to share them, I got to put myself out there. So that's how it happened.
That's right.
It's crazy to think that, I've gone through that growth myself. I'm still going through lots of growth, spurts, and I'm enjoying the ride. It's a lot of fun. That's for sure.
It really is, isn't it? It really is.
Yeah. So, William, you say goodbye, but you stick around for a minute, okay? So I'm going to
bye, everybody. Nice talking to you. Got some value.
Thank you so much for being here. You're absolutely amazing. I'm going to sign off with our sponsor for the show. Again, I'd like to thank The Prepared Performer for sponsoring today's show. The Prepared Performer supports businesses and experts to gain credibility, visibility, and to be known as the authority in your space so that you can attract a flood of leads who are ready to throw credit cards at your face. Go to thepreparedperformer.com for more information, you guys, and have a wonderful, wonderful day. Thank you for being here. I really appreciate it. And Patty, I love how you always take the notes. I really appreciate that so much. You guys have a great day, and I'm sure I'll see you on the internet. Bye-bye now.